Good evening and welcome to Anime-Zing Radio here on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. We want to remind everybody Anime-Zing Radio is brought to you tonight by Home Circle Media for the latest and greatest in anime gear, everything from pens, pencils, stationery, and officially licensed art books. Be sure to check out homecirclemedia.com today or look for them at an upcoming convention near you. We're also brought to you by Casey Fox. For all of your artwork, cosplay, and photography needs, be sure to check out Casey Fox. That's KAYCIFOXX on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. You can also find her at Anime Boston in about a month's time. We're also brought to you by Darren.
If you're down, excuse me, if you happen to live in the Carolinas and need your yard work done, look me up.
And good evening to everybody in the chat room again. Welcome to Anime-Zing Radio here on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. I'm your host, Doug Engel. Joining us in the co-host seat, of course, is our good friends Angela Rose.
Good evening, everybody.
And Darren Starling.
I thought you were going to say Darren is dead.
Not yet, you're still here.
That'll come later.
I thought you were going to say Darren is dead because I just switched at the last second.
No, I saw the switch. I was prepared. Now, I have a question, knowing that you both enjoy Gigic videos. Have you seen the latest videos he put out talking about the 2022 year in review or the winter 2023 series?
Yes.
No.
He had one of the funniest takes on Bo Fury that I think I've heard in a long time.
Let's hear it.
He called it Rising of the Shield Lolly.
You be doing anything? He's not wrong.
He's not wrong.
I can't argue with that.
It's like, oh my god, that is kind of so right.
Well, considering it aired when Rising of the Shield Hero aired, or around that same time frame, it's actually, it works perfectly.
Darren, Mario in the chat says eventually you're getting isekai'd.
Maybe.
It's not reincarnation anymore. It's called being isekai'd.
Go ahead.
And but I've been catching up with some shows, and there was a show, Darren, that you threw out at me to check out. Chilling in My 30s after being banished from the
fired from the Demon King's army.
Yeah, fired from the Demon King's army. That actually has been a lot better than I expected, and I watched like 4 episodes last night because I was that far behind to catch up. And I should have seen this event coming, and I didn't. It kind of caught me by surprise, even though it's so obvious. I don't want to spoil anything for those who are currently watching it, but it was, it's actually been a lot better than expected.
Well, there was a bombshell dropped in this most recent episode, so just brace yourself. The anime is very good with that. And you have to tell me, who's your favorite female character thus far?
That's actually kind of tough. Because there are a lot of adorable female characters in that. I've got to go back and see who all.
And to be fair,
the hero caught me by surprise. I will say that much.
Malika is the girl that found him. Were you surprised by just how strong she actually was?
No, I'm not surprised by how strong she is. Just because of, she's like the village chief's daughter. So you know that she's probably gone through a lot of training because of the fact that he's the village chief, he's the guild master, and all the other stuff. So you know that she's had to endure a lot of training in some way, shape, or form, just based off of fantasy logic of a lot of other animes that we've seen. It's a show Angela might like, since it's not an isekai.
I think she would enjoy if she enjoyed Banished from the Heroes Party. I think she'd enjoy Banished from the Demon King's army.
I never actually finished Banished from the Heroes Party.
You started it though, right?
I watched episode 1 and then got distracted and never went back to it.
Oh,
But after one episode, she was intrigued enough that
It
she
was
wanted to watch
it
it.
was good enough where it's on. It made its way to the. I'm gonna remember this so I can go back to it, and then I got busy. And Eryn will be with us shortly.
Aaron Campbell will be disappointed you haven't gone back to watch his performance.
You know, it's basically what I'm gonna end up
Mario says, "How dare you?
You know,
Get back on that."
I will eventually.
And Ross says, Darren, the newest episode of Fired from the Demon King's Army, technically wasn't a bombshell. Last week's episode preview and yesterday's title kind of gave it away.
To be fair, Ross, I watched episodes 7 and 8 on the same day, so I really wasn't overly paying attention to it, and accidentally started episode 8 not before realizing I hadn't started episode 7. So
Oh, what the heck?
Happy Wednesday to HH.
The chat just went nuts.
Chat's working.
Or no,
fine.
it didn't. It just reloaded literally everything for me all at once.
Ah,
huh.
happy Wednesday, HH. I think you're a little behind. One or the other.
No, is there a reason you're not getting the usual half-hour alert? Because this week the half-hour alert didn't exist for anybody.
Yeah, due to a very hectic work schedule for me this week, and then getting up yesterday morning and finding out big breaking news: Anime-Zing Radio will be at Anime Boston as press again this year. So that left me scrambling yesterday to get a lot of things in order for going to Massachusetts, and I completely forgot to pre-set up the show. And I didn't ask Angela if she had time to do it. Plus, she had a crazy week as well, from what it sounded like.
Yep, large work event on Friday, and all week was leading into that. Plus, snow meant to work from home day on top of that. Plus, yes.
I would gladly accept Floofy Floof from Senko for relaxation. I mean, I have Einzy Boy with his floof, but sometimes he's too skittish, and he's right back over there. He's just chilling on the couch, getting his camera time from a distance.
So he wasn't fired from this podcast?
Nope, he's back there sleeping.
But so
Yeah.
that was a sad attempt at a corny joke.
And tonight, our guest is Eryn Spencer, who is a wonderful person. We met at Anime Boston during one of the press conferences last year. She is a big D&D player, and Angela, you are part of one of her campaigns now.
Exactly. And that was kind of the story of how we met, was pretty much how anime inspires D&D, and all that fun stuff.
And you speak of the devil, and she
Speak of the devil and
appears.
she appears.
I have arrived. Sorry about that. We made turkey burgers from scratch. Took a little bit longer than I thought. They have to cook a little bit longer than regular burgers because I forgot that you can't have medium rare turkey burgers. So you got to cook
No.
those
Nope.
puppies all the way through.
Yep. 165 minimum versus beef is 155.
And also, for burgers specifically, if they're a little undercooked, it's perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Turkey, not so much.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you'll get sick. That's a trip to the ER for sure.
Yep. But
I
hey,
I stuffed it with cheese too, so it was
ooh,
it's
that
really
sounds
good.
delightful.
Yeah, it took a little bit longer, but it was one of the best turkey burgers I've ever made.
Yay.
Nice.
Yay.
And ironically, we had just started promoting you as our guest, and I looked down and you popped in. So as we were promoting,
Perfect. I have arrived right on cue.
And I'm just going to point out the Mercy shirt because I almost put one of mine on, but I didn't at the last second.
Heroes Never Die, which there's actually a song called Heroes Never Die, which popped up on my Spotify feed, and I've been using it for inspiration when I write my D&D campaigns. It's really good. I forget the name of the person that does the audio for Overwatch, but it's real good, and it keeps popping up on my D&D music playlist. So,
yay! No, Heroes Never Die is kind of the mantra I have been using with our campaign, but we'll get there.
I got this at Hot Topic of all places.
Yeah,
Hot
no.
Topic has good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Mine was a Secret Santa gift and came from the officially from the Blizzard store.
That's a great Secret Santa. I've never gotten a good Secret Santa before.
This is a Hot Topic shirt as well, just random gamer girl.
Oh, that's cute. Adorable. I like that. It is adorable.
Every now and again, Hot Topic has some awesome gems.
Mm-hmm. They have really good nail polish too, surprisingly. It's got a little skull on it. It's just a Hot Topic generic brand, and it's really good nail polish.
But welcome, Eryn. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's great to chat with you again, and I'm sorry I haven't been as much of a regular on your D&D feeds on Monday night as I started off being. Things have been nuts.
Totally okay, and thank y'all for having me. I appreciate it.
For our new viewers out there and our podcast listeners who may not know who you are, tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
All right, well, my name's Essie or Eryn, and I run D&D campaigns professionally. I have 2 Patreon games, of course. That's going to be the default question is yes, I do have 2 Patreon games on Fridays, alternating Fridays. It's kind of like the standard, but that was extra. Right, that was a second to our actual plays that we run on our D&D channel, which actually started as a podcast channel. It was a little bit of variety. It was a little bit of sort of social and political discourse. It was a little bit of kind of everything, all kinds of spice. We moved on to sort of video game and con coverage. We always had sort of a discussion about anime sort of mixed in the middle because it was kind of like a variety culture show, right? And then during the Backstreet Boys reunion tour, much like everybody else, we discovered Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, other tabletop games. So that became an immediate sort of spark of joy for wanting to actually do that on stream. Now, I had been playing in a D&D campaign before that for about a year and a half in person, and we had a watch party for the 100th episode of Critical Role Season 2, and I'd never seen Critical Role before. I'd heard of it, but I'd never seen it. And I started watching at the 100th episode, and by that time, the Backstreet Boys reunion tour had already started. We had already picked up D&D, 5th edition. We were in the middle of Last Man of Fandelver, and it was after their hiatus, so everybody was on sort of like a Discord call where they were all in the studio, but 6 feet apart. But they had the Discord call windows, and like a lot of other people, I said, now this is not where I started the channel, right? We already had the channel, and I know hundreds, thousands of people saw that and said, I'm going to do this from the scratch. We had the advantage of already being an established channel, so it was a lot easier for us to just say, well, let's try our hand at this, while also continuing to do the podcasts and the pop culture stuff. And it kind of just slowly transitioned to a TTRPG platform over time. And our podcasts have been sort of just replaced with a discussion about TTRPG stuff. But we do also talk a lot about whether on our podcast or in whatever spaces we have about anime that inspires D&D. So that was one of the things I wanted to talk about here on the channel. But this was all almost immediately after after transitioning. I just went right into doing this stuff like after a year. So everything before that, I was kind of boring, right? I worked as a paramedic. I retired. I do social work now. This is like day job stuff. I can say it all in one sentence. But yeah, that's me. I DM 2 actual play campaigns. We have a 3rd actual play campaign coming up on our channel. We're running the Kobold Press model into the old Tales from the Old Margrave, but we're calling it Into the Old Margrave because it's kind of like a cross between Into the Woods and She-Ra and the Princesses of Power, and of course the module. So it's like himbos, thembos, and lady himbos in the woods, shenanigans, right? Just being absolutely aloof to everything that's going on around them. Like, I don't want to, I've never actually seen the anime, but somebody recommended a lady himbo. I think their name is Nora from, I don't know if I'm saying that right. I'd have to Google it to get back to you. But somebody recommended, I've never seen the anime. When you all start talking, I'll put myself on mute and Google it so I can be like, it's this one from this anime. Never seen it, but it was recommended to me, and I fell in love with the character and their style immediately. But I'll get back to you on that. But that's what I do in a nutshell. All kinds of stuff.
And quick comment from Ross in the chat says that he wants to wish Marin Kitagawa from My Dress Up Darling a happy birthday. That's something that's kind of funny about the weeb culture, and is the fact that so many people keep track of anime and video game characters' birthdays and kind of celebrate that. Is there a way that D&D has been able to do that with character creations, heroes, things of that, where there would be certain birthdays for characters that you create in your campaign, where if you're playing on that day, something a special event might be factored in? Or
we've never had it cross over into game. We've had the idea. I've seen YouTube shorts or other channels talk about it briefly, about how you can have character birthdays, and a couple of our characters in our Heaven's Fire campaign, that's our Saturday campaign, are talking about wanting to do that. The most I've ever done has been like, happy birthday, here's a Discord ping, right? We're going to celebrate you today. You can have 50 gold in the game and you get DM inspiration or 3 luck points. But I've never actually done anything, other than having the Discord celebration and maybe some rewards in game. Nobody's ever really wanted to have a birthday in game for their characters. I think we're too focused on, there's other social role play to have rather than one person requesting to be the center of attention. I think nobody wants to be that person that requests the center of attention or the spotlight.
Yeah.
in a TTRPG. If it happens naturally, right, that's fine. But I just genuinely don't think that folks want to take up that time.
I've seen it happen exactly once, but it was a play by post. In one of my monthly games for birthdays, everybody, the session closest to your birthday, you get bonus experience points. You get bonus points to spend on your character. But yeah, for a once in a Legend of the Five Rings play by post, there was basically the storyteller hosted. The storyteller had a birthday, and everybody showed up to court because it's a very political thing with court and whatnot, set in kind of a feudal Japan-ish setting. And everybody brought gifts, and it was just really funny to kind of read.
That's pretty cool. I know a lot of people do that on the Final Fantasy 14 game. That's kind of a big thing there. Celebrating birthdays, they do weddings, and I think you get special stuff on your birthday too.
I also, on a bittersweet note, I remember I don't play Final Fantasy 14, but I remember reading that when somebody passed away, their guild did a giant memorial service where they just walked across the entire world, and like millions of people joined in, and they just did a giant memorial.
That's pretty cool.
They used to do that on World of Warcraft too. it's a big thing for MMO communities, whether weddings, funerals, sometimes birthday celebrations or other parties or events like that. MMOs have the perfect environment to kind of bring that in there. And Final Fantasy 14, as we know, is particularly active. It's a great game. I love it. It's got, the anime vibes, obviously, because it's the
Yep.
updated version.
It
And
is. It
they've
is.
leaned into it a lot.
As a note, I'll just announce this now. Speaking of Final Fantasy, at PAX East later this month, there will be a Final Fantasy 14 panel on Friday and a Final Fantasy 16 panel on Saturday.
I'll be there on Saturday. So if you want to meet up, we can go to both of those.
I have yet to get my enforcer schedule, but I should be working the info booth. So are you going to be there the whole weekend or just Saturday?
I'm just going to be there on Saturday, I believe. Yeah, just Saturday only for now. For now, that might change.
Well, let me know, and we can definitely meet up, because actually, networking stuff, I have someone I want to introduce you to.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, I would like that very much.
Another tabletop streamer, but I'm digressing.
Oh, by the way, the anime that I was thinking about is Doro de Horo. Am I saying that right? Dorohedoro.
Dorohedoro?
Dorohedoro. Yeah. Wow, dyslexia strikes again. It's not what I just said.
That was a underrated, underobserved, very interesting, very intriguing, very weird anime.
I accidentally just said a bad word. I'm in trying to say it accidentally. I'm sorry. Hopefully,
it's all good.
You don't get pinged or anything.
Nah, we butcher pronunciation.
Doro. Fair enough. I'm sure somebody's probably laughing and be like, that's a funny way to say that anime because I've never seen it, right? But I'm sure somebody's probably giggling.
I am the master at butchering anime titles and character names. So don't feel bad. I'm wrong more times than I'm right, probably.
Dorohedoro. There we go. Okay, and Noi or Noi, I don't know how to pronounce the character name. But Noi?
Noi, yes.
Noi. Okay, cool. Yeah. Does Noi use she, her pronouns or they, them? Does anyone know what pronouns Noi uses?
I'm pretty sure it's a she.
Awesome.
That's one I have not seen.
Same. I have not seen Dorohedoro either.
So I'm the only one?
Yep. I keep seeing clips because of this character. Everyone's like, oh, you need to watch it because of...
She's overly buff. It's because she's overly buff.
Yeah. Yeah, she, her. Noi, Dorohedoro, she, her. Okay, but I gotta watch it. See if it's probably on Crunchyroll.
It's one of the weirdest animes I've ever seen. Let's just put it that way.
I love weird anime. I like psychological anime too. Like I really, one of my favorite anime of all time was Durarara, which is also really fun to say. It directly inspired a Heaven's Fire spinoff that we did on the World Building Weirdos channel. It was kind of inspired by a combination of the game Dark Age of Camelot, which was an MMO from back in the day, and Durarara. So I kind of took the character of Celti and kind of just dumped her right into that world and kind of had some Dark Age of Camelot elements. It was really cool. It ended up being like because Celti's story is just so good. I was directly inspired by that story arc, and I made one of the main characters, probably like the main NPC, part of the ongoing quest, directly based her on Celti, and it just made for this really compelling, amazing story because everybody loves Doulahans, right? Doulahans are they're super cool, especially if you have like a character that is like just this adorable, fun-loving lady.
I think,
but she has no head.
Because I think my favorite Doulahan was Maki from Interviews with Monster Girls.
Interviews with Monster Girls, yes.
She was an adorable character.
Mm-hmm. I think that was the last show I watched with a Dullahan in it.
Might be.
I don't remember.
And we've got a lot of comments in the chat. A lot of people agreeing with you that Durarara was an awesome anime.
Oh yeah. Durarara is incredible. I loved it. It was. I really liked the sort of. There's something about having like modern technological thrillers that kind of get real cerebral and real. I think that's the word I'm looking for, is cerebral. And it has
Yep.
also that element that ties into sort of mythology. Absolute favorite thing ever, which is why I liked season 1 and 2 of American Gods so much. Obviously, it was a disgrace what they did to Orlando Jones. That was like horrifying, but like not surprising, and it's unfortunate that it's not surprising, but
I have American
great
Gods I
show.
haven't gotten to. On the Neil Gaiman note, Sandman
Mhm.
was fantastic.
Yeah, Sandman was kind of the spiritual successor to American Gods, and really it fell apart when the creators got rid of Orlando Jones for like really not okay reasons, and the unjustified reasons. They were like, they just kind of hand waved it. Nobody really commented on it, and it was just kind of like, okay, Orlando Jones is gone now for, and it was like, what the, so obviously a lot of people stopped watching. The seasons that he was in, though, 1 and 2, I can definitely recommend seasons 1 and 2, and then you can stop there. Season 3 just kind of fell off, probably because everyone was so upset that, justifiably, that they got rid of Orlando Jones.
Yeah.
But that kind of genre I love a lot, and that was, to me, very similar, because if you look at Media, the character of Media, or New Media, that was kind of the same idea, except without the embodiment of that in Durarara. And I really liked that sort of, and that was one of the first anime, I think, to really start to integrate social media into anime, about the power of sort of social media networks. Ghost in the Shell standalone complex had a similar idea, but it was a lot of like, it was older. It was like the 90s, early 2000s. So it was like chat rooms and spaces like that. And they did their best to kind of predict, and I think they did a pretty good job. But Durarara was the first to actually put it in and be like, they're always on their phones and like sucked into that world.
Another old one that touches on that was Serial Experiments Lane.
Okay.
One of my favorites. It basically gets into the old school, very 90s internet.
Mm-hmm.
And jumping ahead with all of that social media and technology, an anime that kind of actually does those aspects well, in my opinion, the later seasons of Sword Art Online. Because that just shows you how the technology kind of advances, where everything is.
I think we talked about this. I have strong feelings about Sword Art Online. The first, so Serial Experiments Lane. I just looked at I looked it up, and before I could even finish typing, not even in Google, it came up right away, and I'm like, oh, cool, okay, it's apparently pretty popular. But one of the okay, so season 1 of Sword Art Online, I loved. There were a couple things, especially in season 2, that made me go, but season 2 for me, at least the first part of season 2, it just kind of fell off, and it was like, it felt too campy.
That's everybody.
The chunk of season,
glad I'm not alone.
No, the chunk of
Alfheim was the turn off for a lot of people.
The rest of the second half of season 2 is basically standalone shorts, which are okay, most of them.
Okay.
And then season 3 is Gun Gale, which is actually pretty is controversial, but I thought it was pretty good. That's very polarizing. And then everything that comes after is fantastic. Alice arguably is the best arc.
And
I didn't even make it halfway through season 1.
But
season 1 part 2 slowed down, and then it was the guns, and it was okay. There were some good parts, and then it just went completely in another direction, and I was like, I'm all set.
And then I think they realized real quick that the fans hate this, so we're going to go back to doing what people want.
And they lost me when it went from a cool video game aspect to a romance. I'm like, this kind of came out of nowhere, and it really slowed down the story for me. So I dropped it. Like, I think I may have seen like 6 or 8 episodes of season 1 and dropped it.
And Ross in the chat says they dropped Alice because, in their opinion, it was taking too long. Everything was just drawn out. I can see that to a certain extent. I really enjoyed it, but again, that is a fair critique.
And they do that with just about everything nowadays, Ross. Look at shows like Attack on Titan, One Piece, Naruto, where they're still ongoing.
Attack on Titan is finally coming back. I'm ready for Attack on Titan to be done.
And shout out to Mario for tagging me in an Attack on Titan post saying I've been memeing on that a lot about final season, part 75. And it's like final season, chapter 1, part 2. It's like, so there's multiple chapters to try to finish off this final season.
It's definitely the low-hanging fruit meme, right? For Attack on Titan season 2. But it's I'm really enjoying it. It's one of my favorite anime series. My partner kind of got me into it again. I kind of fell off. I stopped watching a little bit. And she's like, no, you have to finish it. And have y'all officially seen the part 1 of the new episode of the last season?
If it just dropped, no.
Okay, yeah, it just dropped on Friday, I think. Thursday or Friday.
No.
I saw one episode of season 1 and said, this show is not my taste. And it's the only series that I watched one episode and dropped because I knew it wasn't for me.
No,
Where's my scout jacket? It's here somewhere.
I have at one point I contemplated doing a cosplay for Mikasa, and then I never got around to it.
I do Hanji Zoe. Cosplay Hanji Zoe. I have the steampunk goggles and the straps, because Attack on Titan cosplays are all about straps and buckles, right?
Yep.
It's not the greatest Attack on Titan cosplay, and I need a better jacket because the one I got already ripped. I think it was from AliExpress. I know a lot of people have strong opinions on AliExpress.
Yeah, no, I was on the fence about doing it, and I have a scarf. I have a long scarf in the same color.
I do have one show ID from Attack on Titan that we got from Bryn April.
Hi, this is Crystal Lenz, and you're listening to Hazy Radio Network with Anime-Zing Radio.
So you can tell how old that was. That was back from our early days when we first started out, like 9 years ago.
Yeah,
and then it's really funny I have a Spotify playlist dedicated to anime intros and outros, and most of it is Japanese. However, one of my favorite European symphonic metal bands did an EP, all songs from Attack on Titan.
That's pretty cool.
Which is a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. I was really excited to talk about that first episode, but if nobody else has seen it, I just have to sit on it. But it's really good. It's everything. If you're on the fence, or it gets really so. Okay, I run an Attack on Titan game in our Discord server. It's the Powered by the Apocalypse system, and it's called Titan World. And before even watching the last season, right, we started this, and it's such a cool world from the first season, right? I've always thought, like, this would make a really cool tabletop, or this would make a really cool setting. I like that sort of hopeless feeling of sort of that sort of era where it's like you have swords and rifles, and then also a little bit of technology, a little bit of steampunk. That is my other absolute favorite setting, other than like cerebral, type of. That's more like one of my favorite genres. that might be a little bit harder to translate into a tabletop role-playing game. Like we were talking about that Durarara and the other something Lane anime. That would be harder to translate, but I think a setting where you have swords, rifles, and steampunk sort of gear, right? Airships, dirigibles, kind of feels like Eberron, right? Kind of definitely picking up some steampunk or Eberron vibes from that. And
sounds like you would like Tanya.
Like I would like what?
Tanya.
Saga of Tanya the Evil.
Oh, okay. I gotta look that one up too.
think that one I tried and it didn't. That might be one of the ones I tried and it didn't grab me.
I actually enjoyed it, even though it's not my typical style of anime. I don't know if it's because of Isekai Quartet that intrigued me to some of the characters, so I was more invested in wanting to know backstory of where these characters came from or what, but the show itself was actually quite interesting. And I'm not a huge war type person, war anime and things of that nature, but it's actually really good.
And it was World War II-ish technology. Was World War II? Well, was it World War II or World War One, Doug? That it seemed reminiscent of.
I think two, because she was part of she seemed like she was more part of a German factor military
that
than
I'll have to go back and check out because I really enjoy some good war stuff.
Yeah, it's World War II stuff. You got to be careful of whether it's TTRPG stuff or whether it's anime stuff, because you really got to get down to the intent of the creators and the writers, because some of it is not always doesn't always have the best of intentions in mind or at heart, and it has a lot of subtle vibes in it. There's been a little bit of talk about that with Attack on Titan. Whenever you get into fascism, it prompts a fair and justified discussion about what's the intention here, what is the writer trying to convey. I think with Attack on Titan, it seems to be a very there's more of a fascism is bad. Genocide, of course, is the worst thing that humans can even contemplate. When we're looking at the later seasons, and there's a lot of themes and discussion around genocide and how it relates to fascism. And I think that the creators and the writers, to my knowledge, are trying to challenge that. But I think the discussion regarding Attack on Titan comes from a lot of folks on sort of more right-leaning elements of the internet will kind of look at the fascist elements of that Eryn had established and kind of point to that as like an idealistic way to behave. And that obviously, to my knowledge, that was not the intention of the show, right? Nor should it be something that people point to and say, oh, that's cool, because it's really not. And you can apply that to other tabletop creators or other anime shows that sort of dance around that topic of fascism. And you really, in this day and age, it's important to kind of really look into and do research on anything sort of World War II related or that has themes of fascism, because again, not everybody has the best of intentions, and that's unfortunate because we want to assume the best of everybody. But it's 2023, and we all got to do a little bit of extra research with whatever media we consume.
And not everything is going to be accepted by everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's
a given for anything. Yeah.
And comment in the chat, HH says, Tanya the Evil is good because for once it focuses on the villain instead of the hero.
I was kind of getting those vibes looking at the promotional materials, kind of like a villain-focused anime from just the very little I was seeing.
And every now and again, that's a good thing. Because even a well-written villain can be arguably the best character.
Yeah, villains can be pretty good. I can talk a lot about villain construction in D&D, that's for sure.
And one thing that Ange and I have talked about in person a lot is how a lot of the anime worlds and D&D worlds can cross over pretty easily. It's not uncommon to see D&D, as you were talking about, Titans being a campaign similar to Attack on Titan. I know Angela has made characters based off of Maple from Bofuri.
Yep.
And
I've done that. I've done some other very anime-inspired characters. It's so Maple was the first one that was very definitively, I'm doing this, because it was for a battle royale one shot, and I did not have any inspiration whatsoever otherwise. And Mario is pointing out that's how the creator of Overlord came up with the show. He just wanted to play
Yes!
D&D.
So people have been trying to get me to watch Overlord for a long time. I got to
Do
put
it.
that on my list.
Do
I'm
it.
gonna leave this tab up for sure.
even I have seen the first 2 seasons of Overlord. I need to watch seasons 3 and
I
4.
started season 1 and then again got too busy and haven't gone back to it.
And I have to ask your opinion, Angela. Knowing my style of anime, does it surprise you that I like Overlord?
I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say kind of, but I'm not surprised you got sucked in by the cute girls.
Actually, I was more intrigued by the story than the girls.
Fair.
To be fair, there's not a whole lot of cute girls in Overlord.
It,
Wait, hold on. What about the tiefling, the character that was sort of modeled after a tiefling with the horns, and she has like the
yep.
my favorite look, which I have used as a reference for our art in Heaven's Fire. It's the
You mean
what's that
Albedo?
look?
Probably.
Yeah,
Albedo,
probably.
the
Raven
Albedo.
hair.
because you have Albedo, you have Shaltir, who was the vampire.
Mhm.
Albedo was a succubus.
Yep.
You had the twins, which the girl was dressed as a boy and the boy was dressed as a girl.
Fantastic. I'm here for it.
And that's really about it.
Another.
Go ahead, Ange.
No, I'm just. That one was good.
Yeah.
she,
Sorry,
she started and we're like, wait.
Nope,
Wait,
I'm. Brain is going into ADD mode.
That's
Did you
been my
ever?
weekend.
Yeah, right?
Did you watch
I'll get like that. I get it all the time.
last season? Did you watch Gundam Witches from Mercury?
I've never seen Gundam. I've never seen much of any Gundam. There was one of the movies that's on Netflix, I think. My last partner had it on TV and we watched it. This is really good. I don't know which one it was, but I love the concept of Gundam. My partner and I were talking about how Attack on Titan is essentially just a Gundam, but with fleshy robots.
But Witches from Mercury, I highly recommend, and it really does do the. It really does do the. The two of the main characters are girls and they're dating, and it's actually just kind of adorable to watch that evolve.
Albedo, yes. Okay, so that's sounding, yeah, that's right. Because I remember being like, I have so many like gifs of Albedo that I use because of D&D, and someone was like, oh yeah, that's Albedo from Overlord. You got to watch Overlord. It's like, oh, what's it about? And they were like, D&D.
Yep.
And thank you, Ross. I prefer Shaltir over Albedo, where Casey prefers Albedo over Shaltir.
So another anime that was sort of famously modeled after a D&D campaign, to my understanding, from what I was told, in the many panels I've attended over the years and through my connections, though I've never actually seen it, so I may be wrong, and obviously it's a harder thing to Google, but Record of Lodoss War, I have been told, was famously modeled after a D&D campaign and was sort of an inspiration for Overlord. If that is totally wrong, please correct me and let me know, but that is my understanding. So it's been on my list forever.
I don't know that one.
But
I don't
first,
know that one either.
but first,
what was it again?
Record of Lodoss War. So there's a lot of there's Record of Lodoss War, Record of Grand Crest War, And there's a
Wait.
Record of Ragnarok, which I think is just the studio capitalizing on the Record of series, because I don't think they're connected. I also could be wrong on that, but Record of Lodoss War, I've seen a couple of episodes from back in the day and during high school, and there's an elf character you all might recognize. You'll be like, oh, I know them.
Record of Lodoss War Chronicles of the Heroic Knight. It's from 1998.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow.
And actually,
It wouldn't surprise
just
me.
looking at the images, it looks like it very much could be, but I've not seen it, so
I know that D&D campaigns have also made their way into the world of comics. Because friends of ours, which Angela got to meet last year, HB Comics, some of the series that they have written were based off of D&D campaigns that they've actually played and just put it into a comic form.
Yeah, that's really cool. And that's probably next on my list after Vinland Saga. But Vinland Saga, I started the first couple episodes and I was like, oh, I need to go back and watch the rest of Vikings so I can kind of connect everything together. So I'm rewatching Vikings all seasons. And I also just finished Vikings Valhalla. It's not anime, but wow, is that good as a Norse pagan myself. Norse, Celtic, and Slavic pagan, right? Because those are my roots. That's where my family comes from, those areas of the world. So in practice, right, it means it was cool to see this stuff translated into a TV series. And Vikings Valhalla has a lot less problems than Vikings. And Vinland Saga, the first 3 episodes of which are amazing, by the way. Vinland Saga, definitely recommend it. Ties into to just the general mythos and lore and history pretty well. And it talks about the mercenary Vikings. I'm having a brain fart. I'll Google it for you. The Jormungandr. I think it's the Jormungandr Vikings. But they had a separate island, and Vikings Valhalla is about Vinland Saga. So the new Vikings Valhalla, which has a lot of stuff that they fixed from the original series, a lot of problems that they needed to fix, which they did, ties directly into Vinland Saga. So it's really cool to have those two things available at the same time. And Vikings Valhalla just got renewed for a 3rd season. And I know Vinland Saga is like top 10 anime on Netflix, if not top 3. It was top 3 at one point. It might have even hit number 1 at one point in shows and or anime, but it's so good. And you can literally watch Vikings Valhalla and watch Vinland Saga and be like, do the Spider-Man meme. It's really cool.
And Darren Ross is putting some DXD love out there with a question saying, I'm asking this for Darren's sake so he doesn't have to. But I'm really curious about what the anime title of... But I'm really curious, but what about the anime title of High School DxD? He goes, get it? DxD, DND?
Ross.
And HH replied, Ross, you good?
Might be. So I just Googled it. High School DxD, Japanese light novel. Mm-hmm.
The light novel is amazing. The anime is one of my favorites. They butchered season 3, which caused them to change studios, which I think ultimately caused them to not proceed further with any seasons. But to be fair, it has a lot of stuff. It has your typical high school setting, but beyond that, it has the Bible reference. It predominantly focuses on angels, demons, and fallen angels at first, and then after season 2, you get into the Norse gods. You have the Hindu gods get involved. You have the Greek gods. You have mythological figures like King Arthur involved. It just kind of brings in everything.
So my dyslexia struck again. I wasn't completely off, but dyslexia is a heck of a disability to live with, especially if you're an entertainer or sort of involved in the entertainment industry. So Jormungandr is a figure from Norse mythology. It is sort of the serpent, the worm, one of the heralds of Ragnarok, right? But the the word I was looking for was Jomsborg, right? So Jomsborg, Jormungandr, Jormungandr, the Jomsborg Vikings were the mercenary band of Vikings that was sort of when Scandinavia was being Christianized because, right, that was a thing that was happening. And it's unfortunate because so much stuff got lost and it didn't have to. But there was an island that had these, the best warriors kind of got together and they established the Jomsborg Viking settlement. And they had a lot of problems, of course, too, and things, everybody takes old stuff and twists it, over the years. But in history, that's what the Jomsborg Vikings were. And on a lighter note, I don't know for sure because I've only seen the first 3 episodes. I think 3. Might have only been 2. I can't remember. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I don't know if I hit next in the 3rd episode. It all kind of blends together sometimes. You know how it
Yup.
is.
Oh,
But
yeah.
Vinland Saga is about Greenland, Iceland, Leif Erikson, and the children of that generation.
Ooh.
Yep, and it also ties into the Jomsborg Vikings as well. I think they took some liberties as to there's I think a discussion as to when Floki, the warrior and boat builder, actually lived. We know that Ragnar died in a pit at the hands of an English king, which is why I didn't like The Last Kingdom, because The Last Kingdom was like, oh, Ragnar just gets killed by a fire arrow, and that's like in like the first episode. And I was like, what? We know he was killed in a pit by snakes and a king. That wasn't, So I was like, I'm all set with The Last Kingdom. For all the problems that Vikings had, it was good. And Vinland Saga, again, you can be like, oh, yeah, and make all those connections, especially to the new Vikings Valhalla, which is relevant. So I think it's kind of cool because Vikings Valhalla and Vinland Saga, both on Netflix, are kind of playing off of each other. And there's that tie-in. So very clever, Netflix, very clever.
That might be sheer dumb luck. That might actually be corporate nonsense at its finest. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
And Mario is poking fun at Darren, saying, are we going to tell her about the fan service, Darren? Referring to DXD. Yes, DXD, if you have to look past the fan service, which there is a lot of, especially early on, but the character building, the world building is amongst the best that I have seen in anime, period. I would put it as probably one of my top 5 best world building and character building shows. It's the only show where a character I despised in season 1 was my favorite character by the end of season 3.
I do try to stay away from fan servicey stuff, but if it's something that is that can be season, I could check out the first episode and see what it's about, for my job, for as to see like, okay, let's professionally look at this and see. But normally, for stuff that I watch as entertainment, I try to stay away from fan servicey stuff.
And a question for you, Eryn, from the chat. Ross wants to know, what are your thoughts and feelings about the D&D movie coming out?
The only reason that I am seeing it, there's a little bit more flexibility now, but the only reason I'm seeing it is because it was a request from one of my best friends. Will you please come to see the D&D movie with our friend for his birthday, right? So it was one of my besties. Her husband is also in one of our home game D&D campaigns, our off again, on again, long-term D&D campaigns. And it was a specific request. It was, Essie, would you please come see the D&D movie with us for a birthday gift to our friend, our mutual friend, for his birthday. And I thought that was reasonable. A reasonable request for someone's birthday present was to simply arrive and spend time with a friend. If that's how they wanted to do it, I can certainly see excusing, supporting the film to go and spend some time with a friend on his birthday. As sort of the CEO of a tabletop RPG company, it's something that a lot of us have been avoiding, because part of the reason that we found ourselves in the OGL fiasco to begin with, one of the predominant theories is because Wizards of the Coast has been moving into mass media, to film, to television. And for a company like Wizards to assume and to treat their fan base with such disdain and so poorly, it was a slap in the face, and it will take them a long time to recover. And I didn't want to go out and just spend money on the movie without a reason for a genuine plea, like, hey, can you please come see this for our friend's birthday? That's all he wants.
I will say, on that topic alone, I will say that based on my deep dives into the OGL issue as a whole,
Yeah.
that it is the bigger problems come from Hasbro
Yes.
as
for
opposed to
sure.
Wizards. Not to say Wizards is innocent by any means, but it's coming from the tippity top and trickling down. Wizards does have its problems, and it will be very interesting to see how that issue plays out. And I think with all of the other systems doing their own thing and making it nice and public, I think we're gonna see some changes for the better.
Yeah, no, and you're 100% correct. And to clarify that, it is 100%. All of the negativity does sort of trickle down from Hasbro and the folks that work at Wizards of the Coast. I met a lot of them last December at PAX Unplugged, and they're incredible people. And again, everyone says this, please be nice to them. They are so cool. It was super nice to meet them, to spend time with them at the cocktail mixer. Really chill people, really cool people. It's the sort of it's an unfortunate situation that some folks that are in management or upper management at Wizards are kind of put in this really difficult situation by the higher ups at Hasbro, who have this big sort of super ultra corporate sort of unlimited gains, insane capitalism type of view, unlimited growth model, and that the higher level management at Wizards has to kind of, and again, it has to kind of bring that down the line. It's really sad that anybody at Wizards has to be put into that position. But I think the new guy, Kyle, is doing a pretty good job of sort of fielding the question. I've only seen a couple of interviews, a couple of snippets from interviews, but seems to be handling things as well as he can. It probably wasn't right that they just kind of positioned him in that position to just say, hey, all of this is now going to be in your lap. There's a lot of
political mumbo jumbo behind the scenes that
Very
really is
much
screwing
so.
over
But,
so many people.
yeah, but the base level people at Wizards are amazing. They're super cool. Be nice to them. Send them some love. That like all of us, we're doing a job. They're doing a job, and all of the stuff, it just kind of falls down from Hasbro, and it's really, really not an ideal situation for anybody to be in.
No. But
As they say, crap rolls downhill.
yep.
My grandfather used to say that. Yeah.
I've heard it with a stronger term, but we're being friendly for the children who might tune
Yes.
Yep.
in. Except for Angela at times.
No, I've been better about that lately.
Also, I just realized you have a cat cam in the back.
Me?
Yes.
Yeah, that's that right back there. That's Ainz, named after Ainz Logoen from Overlord.
Oh, okay. Yes. Speaking of Overlord,
he is currently sleeping. Now, it was so difficult to name him because of his personality, and we have the obviously my family is a family of weebs, and every pet that we've had since my wife and I got together dating were named after anime characters. That includes Ainz. Our other cat's name is Haru, named after Haru from My Roommate is a Cat. We've had rats named Alba from New Game, Kodri from Love Live, and I forget what the third one was, but it was from Kami-sama Kiss. I think it was Nanami. Our daughter together's name is Evie, and her oldest daughter's name is Winry from Full Metal Alchemist.
Winry is such a cool character. Okay, so I have Full Metal Alchemist is cool, but there's so much. And my partner was trying to get me to watch it, and she's like, okay, well, you got to start with the first one, and then you got to watch Brotherhood, and then you got to compare. I'm like, there's so many to watch.
I will say this. Really,
She's right.
really, you can. In my opinion, you can get away with just Brotherhood.
Okay. That's what I said. I said I just want to watch Brotherhood.
And whatever you do, ignore the live action movie on Netflix. It is garbage. We watched it. It was bad.
Ignore the live action movie on Netflix? Question mark.
Yes.
She agrees.
It was we did watch it because one night we were scrolling through and we're like, it can't be that bad, can it? Yes,
Yeah.
it can.
Okay, so let's talk about my favorite live action anime film, which I think is actually pretty good. The Death Note live action might be a hot take.
I've not actually seen the live action Death Note.
It's really good. I think at the time I remember really, really liking it. I have it around here somewhere, and
did Death Note make it up?
I thought they did a really good job with all the characters and
my husband at one point bought me the compendium for Death Note. I can't reach it to display it, but on air. Ross in the chat says Ghost in the Shell is his favorite live action. I did enjoy that one.
I have not seen any live action anime movies.
I will also get into a controversial take. Minus the very last episode, I enjoyed the live action Cowboy Bebop.
So that's actually not as controversial as you might think. What I will say is that, again, sort of as the CEO, right, of a business, of some of the, we have to take hard lines, justifiably so. And I also personally believe this myself, right? But the only thing that I will say about Ghost in the Shell live action is that the film itself, was sound, but why? And I know that they tried to explain it at the end, but why would you try to explain it when you can just cast a Japanese actor to play the major? So that is, I think that should have happened, but lesson learned in the future, hopefully, and that goes for anything, just cast the person that the role should go to. But that's a whole other discussion, and I believe that. I agree with that. That's kind of our official statement on that. Cast the character that fits the role, and don't try to explain it away. But I know that's a social discussion, less of an anime discussion, more of a social discussion. But I know you wanted to segue to another live action movie, which was
the live action for Cowboy Bebop. I enjoyed.
Yes, live action series. Okay, now perfect example, right? So not to focus too much on social issues, but that is a good example of casting the right cast for the right role. Right. And that goes into sort of like a modern ethics discussion, right cast, right role, right time. Right. And the reason that Cowboy Bebop was controversial is because you had a lot of the opposite end of the spectrum sort of complaining, saying, this is not what I envisioned. But at the end of the day, I also loved Cowboy Bebop, the series, because again, it's a great series. It has the imagery, right, of Cowboy Bebop. It captures that, which is out there, wild. It's sort of like pulp serial, right? Like that sort of pulp fiction, which it's supposed to be wild, and it's supposed to feel like kind of a Tarantino movie, but a little bit with anime. And the right actors were cast in the right roles at the right time.
That was a really good, in my opinion, really good adaptation. I did not understand why everybody was so up in arms. And the very last episode
was bad intent. It was, yeah.
The last episode was somewhat of a letdown for me, but I think that was largely just I didn't. It might be the fact that they were setting up for a season 2 that got nixed.
Yeah.
Because when they introduced Ed, I was just like, wait, what?
Well, I still haven't finished it. I'm only on episode 5, I think. As my partner's over here being like, "Oh, the whole thing as a whole was just okay," But
That's fair.
she's saying okay, But yeah, that's a valid criticism of the structure of the series. I liked it so far. I'm gonna finish the series out and
The last episode is the one I did not enjoy, but the series as a whole, I enjoyed it.
And to your point of casting is everything, I think that's something that, as fans of anime and movies and things like that, we tend to, with how good shows are, we tend to overlook how difficult it is to cast the right people for these characters, especially when you're taking like an anime per se, and you're bringing in an English cast. You need to find people to portray and bring to life these characters that a lot of fans have already seen it in Japanese and have a preconceived notion of the voice, the attitude, just the what you're kind of feeling based on how they're talking. And it's up to a director's job and a producer's job to bring in the right people to convey that into dubbing it into different languages, whether it's English or French or whatever. And I think that's something as fans, sometimes we overlook that because we just see the finished product and we don't think to ourselves, like, going back, and I've like Fury, for instance, I watched it in English in season 1 when the pandemic hit. It had already been completed in Japanese, but they were still dubbing it and then had to stop like mid-season. So I finished watching the whole season in Japanese. And that's one of those shows that the Japanese cast is amazing and the English cast, in my opinion, is amazing. But there's a lot of other shows where it's like I prefer the Japanese cast to the English cast or vice versa, based off of the feelings that the voice actors gave those characters and how their performances made me feel in the show as in one language as opposed to another.
Yeah, no, casting is everything. We can only hope that the casting department makes the best call and the most appropriate call for the show and for the character. We can only hope. And then we can only hope that it is done with good intentions.
And I know, Ange, you're probably excited about Fury coming back, I think, this Wednesday?
It's either this Wednesday or next Wednesday. I forget which.
It's this
What's coming back?
Wednesday.
Fury, they were on a hiatus due to COVID. So the Japanese had a week delay or 2-week delay.
Bobo, yeah.
Yeah, our lovely character Maple here, and best side character Syrup. Who doesn't love turtles? That can grow 100 times their size, and you can ride them as they fly.
And shoot giant energy beams from their mouth.
Yeah. This was, I read this manga in high school. one of the only mangas that I got through more than a couple of books worth.
And it's one of the few anime, because Angela, Darren, and I all have different tastes. It's very rare to find usually there's one anime a season we all agree on. This season it's Fury, because Fury is just amazing.
It's just the most adorable, fun show.
How can we break a game
without breaking a game?
Exactly. How can we have people actively trying to suppress you indirectly and you keep breaking the game without even trying? That's probably the best part. She has no idea what she's doing.
And when you think about it, that's the whole point, is the developers don't know how to deal with someone who doesn't know what they're doing.
Because she's unpredictable.
So
Go ahead.
no, I was just going to segue into some of the other things that we had written down before about anime inspiring D&D.
Yes.
Go
Okay.
for it.
So can we talk about Castlevania? Now, that's not really an anime; it's more of an animated series, but it's sort of inspired by anime. It has some of those vibes. It's sort of like I believe the entire thing was an American production, less of an anime and more of that. But I just wanted to mention it briefly. The other thing that we can talk about that is anime is Rage of Bahamut, Shingeki no Bahamut, which was I really liked it. It was just like from episode 1, I was like, wow, this is like just a D&D party. This is literally just a D&D party engaging with, in these crazy misadventures. I don't know if y'all have seen it. I really liked it. I thought it was cool. And then, of course, Castlevania was good too as a sidebar.
I watched the other Bahamut.
That one I'm not familiar with.
There was another one?
Saijuku Muhai no Bahamut or Bahamut Chronicles. It's totally different.
Hey, okay. Somebody was saying that they love this, that they love the series, didn't like the sequel. So yeah, I loved that series. I really enjoyed it. It was had big D&D vibes. I have not seen the sequel, but I loved the D&D party vibes of Rage of Bahamut. It was pretty cool. Lots of sort of the war vibes and demons and one of my favorite parts about Rage of Bahamut was they made Lucifer like this super hot boy, right? And with the angel wings and everything, and it directly inspired one of the characters that we have for Heaven's Fire in the form of Lucian, who is one of the main characters' fathers, who is essentially sort of an archfiend. But there was this, there are these sort of like stuffed cats that are sort of that were reanimated. These plushy cats that are now demons, and they were reanimated by Lucifer, and they're like the comic relief, and they just kind of float up and down on flying discs in hell. And as Lucifer kind of floats up and down in his throne, and he's just doing hot boy stuff, right? Lucifer is handsome. It was really cool. It's a fun show.
I don't know that one either. That's the cool thing about bringing on different guests.
Yeah.
Of course, the people in the chat is we get to learn about shows that a lot of times we've never heard of, or things that wouldn't be in our wheelhouse. And it's fun to get to talk to people. And like D&D is something I have little to no experience with. Angela was there when I had my first RPG tabletop game experience, because we did a live playthrough.
Another convention comic book artist friend of ours, or friend of Doug's, designed a role-playing system from the ground up called Fae. So we did an on-air live playtest, and it was Doug's first time in a tabletop RPG.
And was that the week was I sick that week, or was I having problems that day? Because I was supposed to be a part of it too.
I don't think you were there. I think
I think you had some issues that arose or weren't feeling well.
It was either work stuff or you were sleeping.
I'd go with sleeping. No, wait, no, I'm pretty sure I stayed awake for most of it. I don't remember.
Oh, you had work stuff going on. You were late getting there because we started at 7 an hour earlier, and you were still finishing up lawns. And by the time you came in, you just kind of were along for the ride, where Angela, I, and another one of her friends who was a RPG rookie went through learning a new tabletop game, and it was a lot of fun. And I got some lucky rolls.
Yep.
Yeah, because Angela couldn't do jack that night.
Well, given the one with actual tabletop experience, we all got pre-generated characters, and I got the healer, kind of by design, but I also couldn't roll anything good, and I just kind of went with it because.
And I just I took off the wall chances and rolled like crits twice, to like end it like an hour earlier than it probably should have ended. Which even our friend Jay Morris, who designed it, was like, "Yeah, that never happens." After the game, I was like, "Yeah, that never happens." He goes, "The amount of times we've had playthroughs at cons and play tests and stuff," he goes, "I've never had a game end that quickly." He goes, "I could have made it a little bit tougher, but I dumbed it down since we had two new players who weren't familiar with RPGs and stuff."
Yeah.
He goes, "But the way it's supposed to go is this creature is supposed to chase you through woods and stuff like that, but I defeated it.
Shia LaBeouf.
I defeated it with like the dumbest move, and I rolled like 2 20s."
It's funny that this sounds eerily similar to the voice actor panel one shot that they did at Anime Boston last year. It was a D&D one shot they had. I think they were using Foundry VTT up on the screen, but they had a selection of voice actors, and our friend Lauren Landa was up there, who we got to meet and interview, and is super cool, super chill person. I'm not sure if she's going to be there again this year. I haven't gotten a chance to really look over the guest list, but
she has not been announced as of yet.
Okay, maybe she will be. But it was super cool to meet her, and she was playing Annie, and she kept rolling natural ones. So of course that prompted the joke, "Annie, are you okay? Are you okay, Annie?" And the audience was getting into it too. But eventually, yeah. So it was a pretty cool premise. It was the VO talent as their characters trying to defeat and trying to flee from and eventually regroup to defeat actual cannibal Shia LaBeouf, who was the villain of that. But speaking of anime into D&D and isekai, I don't know if, or just anime into D&D in general, I'm not sure if y'all are familiar with the work of Blaine Simple, a YouTube content creator in the TTRPG community, and also the producer, author. I'm not exactly sure what their title credits are, but Anime into D&D, which is a supplement that was made by Blaine Simple and Co., the Blaine Simple channel, the Blaine Simple team. I'll see if I can pull it up here and put it in the chat. Anime into D&D, Blaine Simple. I don't want the actual PDF, but BlaineSimple.com. Okay, looks like they do most of the stuff on their own. About 100% sure on Blaine's pronoun, but I will put this. I don't think I can put it in the chat. Yep, it's Blaine Simple and Anime into D&D, and it's an entire tome, and you can get the PDF copy. And Comey is on the cover, as well as Ed, and a couple of other characters. I don't know if that's the girl from the monster anime, but yeah, I love that Comey is right on the top of the sheet there. And then there's the girl from Spy X Family. Who else? Demon Slayer, Demi-Humans. There's the Mage King from Overlord. Plot armor.
Is there anywhere to share your screen?
That's a good question.
Should be able to go to more on your thing, or is that only for us? No, wait, you're on a desktop, right?
Yep, I'm on a desktop.
Should be able to go to your thing at the bottom and go to share screen.
Present, yeah,
present,
okay.
And then share
Present,
screen.
and then select the screen that you're on.
And while you're doing that, I can run through the guest list that has been announced thus far for Anime Boston. And that includes voice actors Brandon McInnes, Dante Bosco, Emmy Lowe, Erica Harlacher, J. Michael Tatum, Jason Liebert, and Sarah Natacheni. Japanese artist guest Shiu Yoshijima, and musical guest Faranam and Aztec. I have no idea who they are, but I do know social media for the Anime Boston channels has been up in arms and not very happy.
Not very happy about what specifically?
The musical guests announced thus far for Anime Boston with a idol theme, and they don't really have idols performing outside of the idols.
Yeah. Oh boy, yeah, that makes sense. By the way, sharing my screen here, this is what it looks like, and it's all made by Blaine Simple. Lots of, speaking of idols, Idols, yanderes, and gacha game addicts can. There's a supplement here, so there's a supplement
see
for whatever you're
Megaman.
looking for.
I see
Yep.
Megaman there.
Yep.
And I see the whiny little brat from from Demon Slayer.
And there was and
Demon Slayer.
and
Or not Demon
further
Slayer.
up there was Chainsaw,
Know.
and
I
there's Chainsaw Man, which makes me happy.
Yep. And there's Lust.
I see the King of Games.
Bunnies and cats. Okay, let's get back up.
Was that Rim?
Deku. Is that okay? I
That's
always
Megaman.
okay.
Yeah, that's Megaman.
The girl with the witch hat, is that?
Yeah, that's Megaman. That's
Megaman.
the
And
Fire
that's-
Witch.
Is that
That's-
Union or is that her little sister underneath?
I can't tell.
Then Assassination Classroom.
Yeah. Oh, I
Yeah.
love Ass Class. Himdare. Oh, that's cool. Kitsune.
Okay, Game Master. So they have Shiro from No Game No Life.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I see
I have
Kitsune, which looks like the Fox Girl from DxD
did-
season
My
4.
stomach just roared at me.
That does.
Why
I don't
did I
think that's
not-
Kuno.
Yo.
Why
You
did
were
I not
close.
know this existed before now? I'm actually annoyed that I didn't know about this before.
And I see Maple.
You were expecting Manchun, but no, it was me, Dio, all along.
Oh,
As
Maple.
there's Maple's shield.
Mhm,
Yep.
mhm.
Demon Slayer.
Yeah, I've been told through channels that this is a really good product for people who enjoy Lamia. There's the okay, so the Snake Girl. I've never seen
Yep.
the Monster Girl anime, but it's also on my list. I really want to see it because I use her gifs all the time, like when she's sweating nervously, and I love they have like a monster polycule going on in their
Because they have
yeah, it's
because
really
there's
cool.
Monster Musume, and then there's Monster Girl Doctor, which both have Lamias in it. Both were really good. A lot of different types of Monster Girls.
Mhm.
That looks like Monster Musume.
That's Monster Musume.
Yep. So it's $4.99, and you can get a bonsai dryad, koi siren, and lamia which is pretty cool. And it's only $4.99. Not that we're sponsored or anything by, or not that I'm being paid by Blaine Simple. I just think it's a cool product, right?
And
Anime into D&D.
I
is a
need
really
to
cool
actually deep dive into this because I didn't know
Yeah.
it existed. And
Yeah.
I will say I've done a few accidental D&D characters inspired by anime characters.
Mhm.
My sorcerer in one of my campaigns, I kind of went all the nerd things. I took the Magic the Gathering background for my sorcerer, and then basically accidentally made Todoroki from My Hero Academia.
Amazing. Apparently the Tsundere pack is free. So could be a good place to start. You can download that. Mega collection. Where? How do I get back to?
Shield Hero.
Idea that just went through my head, knowing that Angela has enjoyed the one-off battle royale type campaign.
Mhm.
Is that it might be fun if you guys wanted to organize an anime-based battle royale where people base their
Yeah.
characters off of anime characters, and we did it live on the show. Is that something that our audience would like to see? And that's a question for everybody out in the chat. Would you enjoy seeing people create anime characters into a D&D battle royale style competition and see, if Angela brings back Maple, so to speak, and see
God.
how could that work?
The saddest thing is I probably would. And the funniest thing is how that ended was Maple not winning because of that thing where, because if you're familiar with D&D, make a dexterity saving throw. Well, when you build your character for all of the hit points and all of the damage soaking abilities,
Mhm.
dexterity is your dump stat. And subsequently, that just did not go well for Maple. It was very fitting, and it was way too much fun showing up with that and only a couple of the players getting the joke. before about halfway through the night.
I'm curious as to in Anime-Zing specifically. I'm curious as to. It's really interesting that they have all the actual characters in the actual tome. I'm sure that was complicated to get the rights to that, but that's really cool.
That is really cool, and I kind of. I'm gonna actually see how much this is.
Okay, silly question, and I know, but what is a dandere? That's the one I'm not familiar with.
Hold on. I think that's me.
That is most definitely you. And
Okay.
okay.
Give me 2 seconds. I got this somewhere.
Okay, the hardcover for what looks to be a hardcover book, the mega collection is actually not unreasonably priced.
And you can also get kaiju race, the dandere archetype, graduation staff, demon. Yeah, each one has like these really cool items, subclasses, and them. It's pretty cool. How much is the whole mega collection in and of itself?
For
$40.
$40 for the book, that's a me thing. That is very much a me thing. But for just the PDF, it's $25.
Oh, wow. The hardcover or thicker paperback seems really cool. Slime Girl. Yes, I love. Okay, everybody likes a good goo girl, right? Idols, college idols.
That's not a girl nor a guy.
Everyone likes a good gender neutral or non-binary goo. My apologies.
Yeah, Rimuru is a sexless slime ball.
Yep.
Ooh, okay, all right.
He takes the form of what was her name?
Shizu.
Shizu, thank you.
Oh, okay.
He takes the form of Shizu after she asks him to, because she is dying, and her final wish is to have him basically eat her or absorb her into his body to keep her memories alive, so to speak.
And also get a deal with Ifrit.
Well, we stan gender nondescript slimes for sure. And also sidebar, goo girls in general. I know a lot of people who have specifically made goo girl monster girls for campaigns using an archetype like that. But also, yes, we stand gender nondescript slimes like this character who I've not seen, but now I want to.
Monster Musume, you have Sue, who is a slime girl. Rimuru technically is a guy. He was a guy in his former life, reincarnated as a slime. And that is another one that has some of the best world building I've seen in anime. It's right up there with DxD. In fact, world building might be better in reincarnated as a slime. Character building is better in DxD, in my opinion.
I can agree to that only because we haven't seen you because they stopped at season 4.
Sword of the Creator.
Oh, wait. And I haven't read the light novels of anything. I typically just watch the anime. I have a very bad problem of when I try to read something, I fall asleep. And so
you mean like you mean like me with this podcast?
Well, this book certainly seems worth it. This is cool. Hey, Blaine, you're getting some free plugs here. So, and I'm learning about new characters and new shows. So
let's see. Hold on. Shield Hero, Komi. Who else we got?
Shield Hero's on my list too.
Well, that's definitely Shield Hero right there.
Demi-humans, very cool. Yeah, the Shield Hero is another one I have to watch.
Demon Slayer, which I'm really liking.
Oh, Goblin Slayer. There you go, Doug.
Goblin Slayer, if you get past the first episode, if you get past the controversy surrounding episode 1, Goblin Slayer is really good.
I have no idea about the controversy.
It's better than Demon Slayer.
I will say that I watched episode 1 of Goblin Slayer. I did not find it to be as bad as a lot of people made it out to be. Probably because I I went into it late enough after all the issues and controversy had settled down, because I'm just started watching it last weekend, and it portrayed goblins as the despicable, disgusting little creatures that they are. And yeah, it might have been a little bit graphic for some people, but there's also a stop watching button. You can watch something else that's more fruitful and friendly and, puts butterflies in your stomach instead of watching goblins be despicable little bastards.
Oh, okay. I think I'm getting that. Yeah, I don't really get into. I don't really vibe with the tropes that automatically put the goblins as evil. I like goblins. Goblins are adorable. They're adorable. They can be adorable little creatures.
I will say that
Adorable little goblins are my
I
favorite.
ended up watching the pilot at a at a friend's let's watch all the pilots of all the new anime gatherings.
Yeah, it's probably going to be a pass for me on that one then.
That season, I ended up going back and watching the entire season, and minus that, it really did feel kind of like the forming of a D&D party. Like in the tavern, it's the stereotypical everybody gathers in the tavern. There's a wall full of quests that people can take, and then it's like the formation of a party that goes and does the quests, which is killing the goblins.
And Grimgar of Fantasy and Ash also touched on the goblins, but was more open to other monsters. And that was one of the ones that kind of flew under the radar.
But
Also,
going back to slime, going back to reincarnated as a slime, they actually portray goblins in a good light.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of goblins in the monster village that work hard, and some of them take up guard duty and stuff like that. So that would be more up your alley.
What shows this?
That time I was reincarnated as a slime.
Oh, yeah. Okay, all right. It's another long title. Like I spent, what was that? Something about I've been killing slimes and I leveled up.
Killing slimes for 300 years and maxed out my level.
Yeah, okay, that's what it is.
I enjoyed that one too. That's got a season 2 coming out soon. I don't think it's April. I think it's a little later this year.
That's one that does come highly and personally recommended. I don't know much about it, but that is definitely one that is on my list to watch eventually. I heard it was pretty good.
It was entertaining.
I enjoyed it. Of course I enjoyed the Dragon Girls because Darren picks on me a lot because
Donkey.
Also, I'm also a fan of. I'm also an average Dragon Girl enjoyer. Yes.
I like the Dragon Girls and Cat Girls. Darren himself, he prefers Bunny Girls.
Oh, on that note, Google Ophis and see what you come up with.
Spelling?
Ophis. Just talking about Dragon Girls, and this one technically isn't a Dragon Girl. She takes the shape. She takes the shape of a girl, but in reality, it's a shapeshifter. It can literally be anything it wants.
I do love the Viera. I'm a Viera main in Final Fantasy 14, so definitely love. So I myself, right, have a lot of cat girl. I have a lot of cat ears. I myself would consider myself to be a cat girl, but I do play a bunny girl in Final Fantasy 14, and of course I have all of the names for it. I have my Bunadin, my Bunslayer, my Astrobungeon.
I haven't heard Bunslayer since Adventure Quest.
Yeah.
Now, question from the chat.
Bunny girl in armor.
Essie, have you ever seen Show by Rock?
No, I'm gonna look that up though. I love it. Show by Rock with 2 exclamation marks. All right.
No, I don't like the series. This is just
It's also a rhythm game. Yes? Question mark.
Yes. Give you an idea. Some of the characters, like these are some of the bands.
Okay.
I have. Yep. This is a Japanese licensed art book.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And where's the main band? The main band here, you have a cat girl, a bunny girl, a dog girl, and a sheep.
I've seen those characters before. Okay, I didn't know that that's where they were from.
But it's a really good series. I love the fact that there's a lot of music involved in it, and it's not like an idle anime or stuff. They have
Yeah.
all kinds of music. You do have some like pop songs. You've got rock songs. You've got um, traditional Japanese music and like a whole bunch of variety. And it really goes to show how the power of music can bring people together.
I'm
And
really glad that I know who that character is now because I've used the GIF of the character right in front doing the little forward leaning dance. Right, I use that all the time. I didn't know it was from that show.
Cyan, then that would be season 2 when she's doing the
Okay.
little dance like this.
Yeah, like leaning forward, cattail, right?
Yep, that's Cyan.
Okay, cool.
English voice actress is Bryn April. We've had her on the show a few times.
Really very cool.
That is probably my favorite franchise in all of anime. There is 2 seasons and some shorts of Show by Rock, and then there's Show by Rock Masha My Resh with 2 seasons. Masha My Resh is the characters that's on the backdrop.
Oh, okay, cool. Now, out of curiosity, because we've all been looking at Anime Into D&D on this page for a while, everything about this seems like everything that I like. So let's talk about Shield Hero because I've never seen it, but it is also on my very long list of anime. Obviously, as we have talked about, my list has about 6 anime on it right now. So, what do y'all think of Shield Hero? What are your hot takes or thoughts on Shield Hero?
I'm afraid I'm the only one that's seen it.
Oh, okay. All right. So, what are your takes on Shield Hero?
Absolutely love it.
Awesome. Okay, cool. D&D
basically, what was that?
D&D-ish?
Kinda. I mean, basically, it plays out like a D&D character that gets nothing but bad rolls. But because literally, this guy is.
I love those tropes.
He's the least desired hero of the bunch and basically does everything in his power once let me rephrase this. You got 4 people summoned to another world to combat the waves, which are basically waves of monsters. There's 4 different heroes. He's the shield hero. He's the least desirable hero. He is the one looked down upon by the kingdom. And he is trapped into being accused of something he didn't do and therefore goes underground and will literally do underhanded methods to just survive at first and eventually starts becoming the underdog in many situations and more or less undoing a lot of the stuff that the other heroes have done that have caused damage and becomes the predominant focus of the series. Raftalia is a slave girl that he buys early on in the series, and she grows up. Philo, which is the girl you see right there in the middle, she and the bird she's on, they're one and the same. That's her transformed state.
Okay, all right.
So she can transform from a cute girl into a giant bird that knows how to fight.
All right, fair enough.
And mixed reviews in the chat. John Knight says he watched Rising of the Shield Hero and liked it. Mario said it's garbage.
Mario, I know you're not around for a whole lot of the shows, but get out. and also,
but I think we've come to the conclusion that Mario's taste in anime seems to overlap the most with mine out of the 3 of us.
And Ross tends to lean toward my direction.
And John Knight says, Billy Kametz, I think I butchered that, was the original voice of Naofumi, and after he died, Stephen Fu took over the voice in season 2. Trivia, casting trivia.
Oh, by the way, just to touch on this real quick, I see a character for the main from the main site at the very top that I haven't seen in years.
Okay.
The on the left.
Oh
The
yeah,
sacred,
yeah.
The Sacred Blacksmith.
Okay. Is that the so this looks like the Heroes Essential Pack? Maybe that's new releases.
Maybe.
The two, the chains, the Overlord pack, Demon Slayer spell pack. Let's see if we can find this one. The Heroes Essentials pack. Mega collect. Did we like go right over it? Spy
No,
Family and Monster.
if you look at the very top, like the header on the site.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I'm trying to click on it to see if I can open the Heroes Essentials pack, see if we can find that one, but I don't think it's here, unless I absolutely just went right over it.
I haven't seen it, so you're not alone. You're not going crazy.
Shield Hero, Demon Slayer, Undead, Fire Emblem, Armor, Slime Plot Armor, and Theme Songs, Monster.
Maybe it's new?
I don't.
I'm not sure.
Let's see what's in new releases. We have Chainsaw Man pack, Demon Slayer spell pack, Overlord pack, and the Touhou Super pack.
Touhou Super pack, yeah. Let me go to the Overlord pack. It looks like there's because that's like the D&D one. Battle Maids. Okay, that's something I can get behind. Everybody likes Battle Maids.
Oh yes. What was her name? Yeah. Help me here, Doug. Gamma.
Battle Maid fighter subclass. Very cool.
Bunnies and cats.
So you would like the Pleiades maids. There's what was it, 7 maids, Doug, or was it 5?
What is it? What is it again?
The Pleiades maids and Overlord. There are several maids that serve Ainz, and they all have different roles.
Oh, I don't remember. It's been so long since I watched that series.
Overlord wiki. Okay. Oh, all right. Very cool.
Yes.
Yeah. I gotta watch Overlord immediately.
And here's Haru coming for more attention.
Hello, cat.
Yeah. My Overlord. Yeah, my partner's saying that it's really good. She wants to watch Overlord too. Okay, we could.
Please do.
Yeah. All right. We're gonna bring that to the top of the list.
And if you want some mindless, just really stupid, funny combinations, Isekai Quartet, they bring 4 Isekai animes together and put them into a classroom where they all have to work together. And that includes Overlord, Saga of Tanya the Evil, Konosuba, and ReZero.
Okay, she really wants to say something about Overlord. Just say, what is it? Babe? Hold on, she wrote it down. Fancy Berry. What does the other part say? Demon Slayer? Oh, theme song. Oh, okay, yeah. All right. So there's a song that she always puts on. What's it called? Is it just called Fancy Berry? Ferocious? Yeah, she's always playing the theme song from Overlord, which is also really good. It's very catchy. It's very upbeat.
The openings for Overlord across all 4 seasons are really good.
Yeah.
Veracity, let's see, was one of them. Go Cry Go. I'm trying to remember some of the others.
Well, if I get just a single pack, it will probably be this one. That sounds pretty cool. Or there are 2 that are okay. So this one has Overlords and Battle Maids. Over the Overlord race, the Hermes Trismegistus, very rare armor. The 3F, very rare weapon. Battle Maid subclass. And then there was the other pack here. Plot armor is pretty funny.
Plenty of shows with that.
I could see me doing like a Megamine. Just because Konosuba was great.
The Undead pack, Sacred Exorcism spell, Guildmaster staff, and the Einzelgaun.
Einzelgoon.
Einzelgoon. Okay. Very cool. Yeah, I know. I see this character like all the time. This character is always popping out,
Yep.
popping up.
Yep.
And actually,
There was
last year at Anime Boston, friends of ours were supposed to be cosplaying 2 different versions of him
Oh, that's
for the
cool.
masquerade.
By the way,
In fact, they'll be joining us on the 19th, March 19th. Hitake and Sahara will be joining us again as they're preparing for the masquerade of Anime Boston.
Very cool. Very cool. And I think I'll be with you with all this stuff now because I think I put in my first year time, release the content. I'm going to put in for the same press panels. Hopefully we can all be at the same ones. And I actually have better equipment this time. I got myself a Rode Mobile. It's the new ones. It's the Rodecaster Mini, and I used it for PAX Unplugged, and it was perfect. The quality came out so good. It was really cool. You have to flip it if you're kind of doing a spot interview a couple times, but it ended up working out pretty well. So hopefully, obviously we'll be seeing a lot of each other there.
Yes, looking forward to another year of Anime Boston, and a lot of question marks going into it. Then found out that we were approved for press, so making things work. It was a little tougher as our daughter gets older and trying to find a babysitter, because doing press stuff with a 5-year-old is not going to be the easiest thing to do. So I'll probably be more press heavy on Saturday and Sunday when we do have a sitter for her. If she goes with me on Friday, it'll be more of walk around, see what, try to visit with friends and let her get acclimated to that big of a con, because she's used to smaller cons that we bring her to.
Yeah. Now, as we kind of approach what I think is time based on the schedule, did y'all have any questions that you wanted to ask me about any D&D stuff specifically, or how it relates to anime, or because I am a wealth of knowledge. I'd be happy to share any information.
And we really just went all over the place tonight with
we
did. Do a podcast with Essie.
That we did, and that's kind of par for the course thus far for 2023 AZR.
And it's always fun chatting with you, and looking forward to seeing you at Anime Boston and hanging out a little bit. And hopefully we can chat a little bit outside of press conferences and stuff if we both have time. I know things will be crazy for everybody.
Totally.
But with the D&D side of things, how long does it normally take you to prepare for a campaign? As the master, I forget what it's called when you're the one that creates and runs the campaigns.
The GM.
The GM.
Well, there's the dungeon master for D&D, but for general tabletop stuff, it's usually the GM, the game master, or the storyteller.
So in your case, you mentioned that you have multiple campaigns that you run throughout the week. Mm-hmm. How much time does it normally take you to get prepared for these?
Well, it could be a matter of every day until the next session. Specifically, when it comes to 2023 and when it comes to renewing rights to use art, there's fair use with not getting with it's not sort of actual plays and actual play podcasts. They're a little tricky because they fall under sort of fan content, and you're not making a product that you are selling. And when people subscribe on Twitch or tip or cheer for bits, that's considered tipping, which falls under a different category. But also ethics is important too. So for the start of 2023, what we've been doing is we've been checking with every single artist that we have used in sort of beta or in play tests, and we've been commissioning new art, and we've been checking in due process for every artist that we want to use, for every music partner, for every map and everything, making sure we have all of the right rights to use that. Even though it's kind of a gray area, ethically it is the right thing to do to make sure that the art that you're using, that you have permission to use that. And in doing so, that's a long process. So for an actual play, it's different because for someone that has a lot of characters and that really has a lot of visual aids, for me, I have to do that much extra work, but it's well worth it because you're doing the right thing ethically. And you're also making sure that the art that you commit, that you're also commissioning artists to do the most important characters. And if you have database access, which we're lucky enough to have for a couple of artists who have granted us database access, it's a matter of, again, especially for DMs that like visual aids, like me, it takes a lot of time. It can take several hours every day to look through a database and to constantly be communicating with artists and with music partners and map partners to make sure that everybody's on the same page and then putting that onto the screen. When you're doing VTT prep, you're setting up everything in advance versus if you're at a table, you can roll out a grid and you can draw on the actual grid. But in a VTT, and especially for an AP, you want to make sure that you have permission and rights to use the map, the tokens, etc., that you've paid to use the maps, the tokens, etc. You're placing the map, you're placing dynamic lighting, you're placing tokens, and that you're editing or updating stat blocks, that you're adding and all kinds of stuff. So for homebrew games, it's a process over an entire week or 2 weeks if you play every other week like we do. But for a home game, if you are playing a game in the same world that you play other games in, it can be a little easier because you already have a lot of the assets and the resources. And sometimes, if it's a home game and like last Friday, if it's a home game and you just need a couple things, you can do it 2 hours before the session. But it's a lot of extra work to run the APs, to run the shows, and to set up for an actual play. Having a home game takes a little bit less work. Still more work, I think, if you're doing a VTT. Whereas if you're doing it in person, there's a different feel to it. Like my partner just did an in-person one shot, and she took like an entire month to make homemade handcrafted goods for it. But that's if you're super extra like my partner. So it depends on whether or not you're doing it in person, whether or not you're a DM that does it in person and goes extra like my partner, or like our DM for the Sunday game the alternating Sunday game that we play at Battleground Games and Hobbies, our friends over there in Abington. Steve just kind of shows up and he's like, all right, we're here. I got a grid, I did like an hour's worth of prep. We're just going to play. Right. So that's a lot different than my partner. And then of course there's a different element to it if you're doing VTTs, and then if you're doing VTTs and you're setting up for an actual play stream. So it varies, but it varies based on the situation.
And one other question that had come to mind, especially since Angela's been a part of the show for about a year now, and we've discovered there's a lot more people involved in role-playing community than you realize, especially when we had Danny Chambers on, Angela, and you had talked with her a little bit about being playing D&D and stuff, and the importance of influence of the D&D. Years ago it was very taboo. You had to keep it secret. Now D&D is everywhere. Well, not everywhere, but you see it's more accepted than it used to be. And it's also more accepted of seeing more females playing D&D. It's not such a male dominated game anymore.
Well, D&D is for everybody, and you're seeing so many. We're seeing a lot of communities where it's really nice because we have the goal, right, is just for everyone to play D&D. So we're definitely seeing a lot of everyone in the community, and there are spaces for there are queer spaces, there are spaces that sort of almost entirely have BIPOC D&D players. There's spaces for Indigenous D&D players. There's spaces for every community that you can possibly think of, and it's really, really cool to see that.
Much like in anime, there is something for everyone. You just have to find it.
Yeah.
And not everything is for everyone. And the same thing I'm finding in D&D or tabletop role playing in general. It's it's definitely more inclusive than it was 10, 15 years ago.
Oh yeah.
And that is amazing to see that growth. And especially, and some of this, uh, some of this actually came from the pandemic,
Mhm.
but with online gaming and social online gaming with virtual tabletops like Roll20 or Foundry. I'm sure there's others that that I'm not remembering or don't know about. Um, and social media. Literally, someone can post in a Discord server or a Facebook group and post what kind of D&D game they are looking for players for, or what they want to play in. And every game has a different feel.
Right. And these communities have always existed, and they've always been there. But the cool thing about D&D in 2023 is that there is representation for everyone in all of the products and also in the communities, much more publicly, and the spaces just blossomed out during the Backstreet Boys reunion tour, and it gave everybody a chance to say, there's a community for me, or there's a community for me, and vice versa everywhere. And those communities have become those larger growing communities have become a vital integral part of the D&D community, because again, D&D for all, D&D is for everyone. It always has been, but now it is on a much broader scale, and that's what's really cool to see, that scale broadening, and I'm here for it.
And one question that came from the chat room here, or not so much of a question, but a comment for you, Eryn. Ross says he wants to recommend an anime that everyone here loves. It's called My Dress Up Darling. Half guarantee you'll like it. Says, I don't want to fully guarantee it because you might not like it, but I can say that Marin Kitagawa, whose birthday it is today, is the main female character from it. It's a show that Marin was best girl of last year, regardless of what some polls might say, but a lot of people felt that Marin was best girl of 2022.
2018, 2022. Premise, okay. Creates cosplays. Yeah. I'll have to check it out.
It is. I did not expect to like it as much as I did.
Mm.
That was in my house. Everybody picks out we go through my anime list.
Yeah.
And everybody picks out what they want to watch, and then we put it all together and then go back and forth. And that one was one that was not my choice, but as it kind of took over social media, and it was I begrudgingly started watching it, and I absolutely loved it.
And also, I know that we've talked about this before. Have you had a chance to look up this album from our friends at Midnight Syndicate, the only official role-playing soundtrack for Dungeons and Dragons created, to my knowledge?
I have not, but I like seeing the old school logo there. That's pretty cool. Sorry, squeaky chairs.
Yep.
Squeaky chairs in my stomach occasionally will arr. So I hope you can edit that out, because I do have Crohn's disease. So that is it's something I've lived with. I'm very open about that. So every once in a while, as Angie knows, it was really bad the other day. My stomach will just very audibly roar, and the mic will pick it up because
I don't think we've heard it all night. So
that's good. That's good. But living with Crohn's, it's not fun. I don't recommend it for sure.
But we want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. It has been so much fun chatting with you. And like I said, I'm looking forward to seeing you at Anime Boston in a month's time. And
given what time it is shameless.
About that time.
It is shameless plug time. So if people want to find you on social medias and whatnot, where can people find your content?
I'm glad you asked. Thank you, Ange. You can find us at twitch.tv// /TTRPG. So twitch.tv/ ESPTTRPG. Sorry, twitch.tv/ ESPTTRPG. And we have link trees and everything. And at ESPTTRPG on Twitch, this Monday, you can see Ange playing her Leonine character, Thamus Sunstorm. And that is our Stormwatch campaign where we use MCDM Kingdoms and Warfare. I have the book conveniently right here. It's an MCDM product, and as some of us may or may not know, MCDM is creating their very own tabletop game, so as an alternative to 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. So we'll keep an eye out for that. We are on the official resource document list for MCDM Kingdoms and Warfare, so they're sort of like lateral partners in for us as well, which is pretty heckin' cool. And on alternating Saturdays, we play our Heaven's Fire Anchor campaign, which is entirely homebrew. It is 5th edition, as is the Kingdoms and Warfare supplement from MCDM, and as will be our Tales from the Old Margrave, which we're going to be playing. That's a Kobold Press Tome. So we got a few things going on, right? We have homebrew 5th edition. We have MCDM Kingdoms and Warfare, which is a 5th edition supplement, and we have a Kobold Press adventure module. I believe their very first adventure module. Into Tales from the Old Margrave, and that's what I talked about at the beginning of the show. Into the Old Margrave. Thank you, Mario. Into the Old Margrave, where it's a little bit of sort of into the woods, very bardic tropes, himbos, thembos, and lady himbos, right? In the woods, inadvertently saving the world from disaster without knowing it. Maybe causing some chaos along the way. And also, we have planned for the summer a one-shot or two-shot for himbos. Speaking of himbos of Myth and Metal, and I love the cover art here. It's hilarious. It's amazing. Comes highly recommended. And also, we are planning on running a limited run that is based in the O Morningstar system, which is sort of about the rebellion between heaven and hell and about the nature of rebellion. So that's going to be a limited run. And last but not least, later in the year, we're going to have a Call of Cthulhu limited run as well. So stay tuned for all of that good stuff. Again, twitch.tv/ESPTTRPG. Everything else gets put on the YouTube channel and eventually gets put into the RSS feed, and you can find us wherever fine podcasts are available if you like the audio podcasts as well. And that's where you can find me most of the time. And there's also a project in the works that I can't really talk about that I'm under an NDA for, but perhaps you can have me on as again after that to talk about that, because it might be relevant.
And when that becomes something you could talk about, let me know, and we can definitely do a follow-up later in the year.
You got it. Thank you for having me again, by the way. This has been a delight. So thank you.
Always a pleasure having you on. And Ross in the chat says, do not forget to set your clocks this coming Saturday. It's daylight savings time. Oh my God, I can talk on
Words,
it.
we can do this.
We're going to have more sunlight, and that makes me happy.
Let's sleep for that day. We'll get more sunlight.
Yeah.
Sleep is highly overrated most days.
Oh, that's a D&D day, so that means I'm gonna have to go to bed early. Oh no! Hey babe, we're gonna lose an hour after Heaven's Fire and for our D&D. That's gonna be bad news bears for me. I'm not a morning person.
But thank you again so much. Next week we have an open chat night. We will discuss what topics that we will bring up, and we might have another Q&A if the wonderful viewers out there have any questions for us. The Crunchyroll Awards, the Crunchyroll Anime Awards were just recently announced. We may touch on that. Plus, we're still watching the winter 2023 season of anime, and we're all watching some similar but a lot of different stuff that we can touch on then. So until next week, when we're back with more calamity, chaos, and fun, we hope everybody has a wonderful week. Stay safe out there, and we'll be here again next Sunday right here on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook with more Anime-Zing Radio. Have a wonderful week, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Bye, everybody.